We are.
Would you have married Donald Trump if you had a crystal ball that said he would be president?
That's a interesting question.
By the way, does he ever sleep?
Yes. He doesn't sleep much. He does, of course.
Does he wear pajamas?
No.
No. What does he wear when he sleeps, Melania?
We are at a moment in our life, in this country, where this guy is like a gangster. He's come along and he's said things, done things we say over and over again. This is terrible. We're in a terrible situation. We're in a terrible situation. And this guy just keeps going on and on and on without being stopped.
Melania just went full DEFCON 1. All thanks to Robert De Niro torching Trump like a Christmas tree in Casino. The Hollywood legend didn't just roast Donnie, he served him up extra crispy, no refunds. And Melania? Her usual I don't care, do you, act is crumbling faster than Trump's legal defense. Did De Niro hit a nerve even she can't ignore? This takedown is savage, hilarious, and guaranteed to leave MAGA world foaming. Buckle up.
I wore the jacket to go on the plane and off the plane, and it was for the people and for the left-wing media who are criticizing me, and I want to show them that I don't care. You could criticize whatever you want to say, but it will not stop me to do what I feel it's right.
What was it that compelled you to wear that at that moment? Because you were down there, you had just been with children, and then you put the jacket on.
After the visit, I put it back on because I see how media got obsessed about it.
Before we dive in, smash that like button and subscribe, you don't want to miss this one. Imagine waking up, grabbing your phone, and expecting the usual chaos, another Trump lawsuit, a bizarre Melania sighting, or a press release that looks like it was typed with ketchup-stained fingers. But instead, you're hit with the glorious revelation that Robert De Niro, the walking definition of I dare you to say that to my face, just verbally suplexed Donald Trump so hard that even the Secret Service had to check if he was still conscious. This wasn't just a roast, it was a full-scale comedic assassination. A takedown so brutal it shattered egos, exposed delusions, and left a certain ex-president somewhere in Florida rage tweeting into the void.
I mean, he's so blatantly stupid. He's a punk, he's a dog, he's a pig, he's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about.
De Niro didn't just go for the jugular, he turned Trump's entire political career into an audition tape for a tragic comedy. He spoke with raw, unfiltered disgust, the kind usually reserved for mob movie villains, the irony being Trump could never survive in one. Imagine him facing real mafia bosses, they'd take one look at his ridiculous hair, hear him ramble about very smart deals, and send him on a one-way trip to the Hudson River.
Compared to 4 years under my husband as commander-in-chief, he was leading the country through peace, through strength.
And let's not forget Melania. If she thought keeping a permanent help me expression during Trump's presidency was exhausting, this latest disaster probably had her Googling the fastest escape routes from Mar-a-Lago. If there's one thing she hates more than holding Trump's hand in public, it's being dragged into his messes. The second De Niro finished his speech, she let out a sigh that screamed, *, I should have read the prenup.
Melania Trump reappeared at Trump's big dollar fundraiser in Florida over the weekend, looking absolutely miserable, looking like she is being held hostage. You have to see this.
Just wanting change. The rich people want it, poor people want it, everybody wants change. Our country is really doing poorly. We're a laughing stock all over the world, and we're going to get that change very quickly. And this has been some incredible evening before.
The suspicions around Melania's conspicuous absence from the campaign trail, namely, that she simply doesn't want to be there, seem more valid than ever. Her presence at this latest event only reinforced that. Meanwhile, Robert De Niro, who has spent years treating Trump like the punchline of a never-ending national joke, didn't just go after him, he dissected him with the precision of a seasoned actor who's played gangsters, boxers, and business moguls. De Niro delivered a performance that can only be described as a verbal curb stomp. He didn't just challenge Trump's intelligence, he practically held up a flashing neon sign pointing to the gaping void where common sense should be. This wasn't just a critique, It was an intervention for a man who still believes he won an election that even his own lawyers couldn't spin in his favor. And the timing? Absolutely poetic. Trump, who treats every public appearance like a WWE promo, was likely basking in his own delusions when De Niro dropped the hammer. But it wasn't just about bad leadership. If there were an award for that, Trump would have a golden statue the size of his ego. It was about a legacy of incompetence, broken promises, and big, beautiful plans that never made it past the teleprompter. De Niro didn't just highlight the disaster, he put it on a billboard and lit it up in Vegas.
Period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's...
And then there's Melania. Oh, poor, reluctant, long-suffering Melania. If she had $1 for every time she had to pretend to support Trump in public, she could buy her own private island, far from gold-plated monstrosities and awkward Christmas decorations. The second De Niro finished his takedown, she was somewhere rolling her eyes so hard she nearly gave herself whiplash. She's been through enough PR nightmares to know that when Hollywood royalty comes for your husband, there's no spinning it. No fake news excuse, no alternative facts defense, just the cold, hard reality that Trump is once again being dragged across the public stage like a bad Broadway performance that refuses to close. Let's be honest, Melania has never been the face of unwavering loyalty. She barely hid her disdain during Trump's presidency, sidestepping his hand-holding attempts like a pro while perfecting the dead-eyed stare of a woman who expected a lavish lifestyle and instead landed in a 4-year PR disaster. And now, here she is again, forced to deal with the fallout of yet another humiliation. The memes alone probably sent her into a full existential crisis.
What he tweets, and I tell him that, I give him my honest opinion and honest advice, and sometimes he listens and sometimes he doesn't, but I have my own voice and my opinions, and it's very important for me that I explain.
Can you stay categorical? You are fake news.
Meanwhile, Trump, the self-proclaimed king of comebacks, was probably brainstorming his response the only way he knows how, rambling, incoherent, and packed with grievances dating back to 2016. Maybe he called De Niro washed up or insisted that nobody watches his movies anymore, conveniently ignoring the fact that he's arguing with an actual Oscar winner while he himself struggles to book a speaking gig that doesn't involve folding chairs and off-brand campaign merch. De Niro's words weren't just a scathing review of Trump's presidency, they were a reminder that history doesn't forget, no matter how many times Trump tries to rewrite the narrative. Reality has receipts, and if De Niro made one thing crystal clear, it's that Trump's legacy will always be less art of the deal and more * disaster of the decade. Melania, meanwhile, has mastered the art of existing in Trump's universe without actually looking like she wants to be there. She spent years dodging awkward hand-holding attempts, throwing shade with fashion choices, and perfecting a facial expression that screams, "I did not sign up for this." But De Niro's takedown? That one hit a nerve.
Gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave.
I'm gonna come.
He will never leave.
I'm gonna do it.
For years, Melania has followed the golden rule of Trump world: never react, never explain, never acknowledge reality. Yet after everything she's endured, the embarrassing headlines, the conspiracy theories about body doubles, the infamous jacket debacle, it was this that finally pushed her over the edge. Let's be real, Melania is no stranger to pretending things don't exist. Her entire marriage has been an exercise in selective reality, but this wasn't some random Twitter troll or a late-night comedian tossing out a joke. This was Robert freaking De Niro, a Hollywood legend with zero fear of taking on Trump and his entire empire of delusion. And when someone of that stature speaks, people listen. You can almost picture it, Melania pacing through Mar-a-Lago, muttering under her breath in Slovenian, furiously dialing whatever PR team she still has left. Maybe even calling up her lawyers for a refresher on those post-nup clauses. Because like it or not, Melania isn't just a bystander in the Trump spectacle, she's part of the brand.
To guarantee that women have autonomy in deciding their preference in having children based on their own convictions, free from intervention or pressure from government. Had you spoken to President Trump about that before you wrote that in the book?
Yes, he knew my position and my beliefs since the day we met. And I believe in individual freedom. I want to decide what I want to do with my body. I think I don't want government in my personal...
And when Trump is humiliated, so is Melania, not because she actively defends him, let's be real, the woman barely defends herself, but because the world lumps her into the same gaudy, gold-plated disaster that is the Trump empire. Sure, she enjoys the private jets, designer clothes, and the ability to vanish to New York whenever she pleases, but even the best poker face can only withstand so much public humiliation before it starts to crack. So, of course, she was livid. This wasn't just about De Niro trashing her husband, it was about Melania's long, carefully curated strategy of avoidance being shattered. She spent years perfecting the blank expression, the distant nod, the carefully rehearsed "we'll see" when pressed about anything. And now, suddenly, she's being dragged into the mess in a way she can't ignore, because when De Niro speaks, it doesn't just make headlines, it sets the internet on fire. The memes, the think pieces, the late-night monologues dissecting every second of his comments, it all snowballed into yet another Trump-related PR disaster. And this time, Melania couldn't just pretend it didn't happen.
Do you ever stop and think about your life and wonder, how did you get here? Like, you came to the United States in '96, you arrived at JFK, and then you end up in the White House. And obviously you didn't expect it, but does it ever kind of have these moments where, how did I get here?
Yeah, it's an incredible journey, incredible story, where I came from small town in Slovenia and then went to Milan, Paris, New York. And, you never know what can happen in life, right? We don't know the future. We don't know what will happen next year.
Maybe Melania ranted to her closest friends, if she has any left. Maybe she scrolled through the backlash, calculating the damage. Or maybe she just sighed, realizing she's once again stuck in a never-ending cycle of public embarrassment. Whatever her reaction, one thing is clear, De Niro struck a nerve, and the master of indifference finally showed a crack in the armor. Trump's meltdown over De Niro's takedown was as predictable as a Mar-a-Lago buffet featuring overcooked steak and ketchup. He was seething, pacing, yelling at whoever was unlucky enough to be within earshot, probably a bewildered staffer or an already overworked lawyer. And, of course, he threw out his greatest hits, washed up has-been, Hollywood liberals, and the old faithful, totally unfair, because in Trump's world, a man who has spent his career insulting others is somehow the real victim when someone fires back. Classic. And let's not forget the poor souls trapped in the blast radius of his tantrum. Melania's personal assistant deserves a lifetime supply of spa days just for enduring whatever rant came next. Imagine being stuck in a room as Trump fumes about fake news and nasty people, while Melania, usually the queen of tuning him out, suddenly has something to say. Because make no mistake, she wasn't thrilled either. It's one thing to silently endure humiliation on a global scale. But having Hollywood royalty drag your marriage through the mud in prime time? That's a whole new level of inconvenience.
Trump administration had another week of horrors, from Trump boosting an AI-generated video envisioning the future of Gaza featuring a somehow more human Elon Musk enjoying hummus, gold Trump statues, and Trump and Netanyahu taking sips and showing nips by the pool.
She probably gave Trump the look, the one. Icy, unreadable, the kind of stare that makes even the most powerful man in the world suddenly remember that divorce lawyers exist. Trump, ever the master of misreading social cues, likely took this as encouragement to double down. Because if there's one thing he knows how to do, it's escalate a situation that could have just been ignored. So instead of letting the whole thing fade away like a bad spray tan, Trump had to respond. And not just any response, a Trump response, filled with exaggerations, random capital letters, and at least one baffling insult that made absolutely no sense. Maybe he called De Niro the worst actor ever despite his 2 Oscars. Maybe he brought up his Home Alone 2 cameo as proof that he's the real Hollywood star. Or maybe, just maybe, he pulled the ultimate Trump move and claimed De Niro was actually a secret fan all along. Meanwhile, Melania's assistant was probably Googling how to flee to Slovenia unnoticed, because let's be honest, if she was already this fed up, this latest scandal might have been the final straw. She spent years perfecting the art of looking vaguely interested in her husband's antics. But even she has asterisk limits.
What about trusting the government?
Oh, trusting the government. That's a little bit tricky. Right?
I think so. I feel like the older I'm getting, the more tricky it's becoming.
It's very tricky because it's so many people involved. That's why.
And what about the staff at Mar-a-Lago? You just know there were whispers in the kitchen, bets being placed on how long the rage-fueled rant would last this time. Maybe someone even joked about unplugging the Wi-Fi, just to delay the inevitable meltdown. Because let's face it, Trump without Twitter is like a toddler without crayons. He'll still make a mess, but at least it won't be asterisk immediate. Meanwhile, the world was loving every second of it. Social media had a field day. The memes? Priceless late-night hosts? Thriving, the general public? Eating it up like a Mar-a-Lago buffet special. Because nothing unites people quite like watching a fragile ego completely implode in real time. As for De Niro? He probably didn't give it a second thought. The man has been calling out Trump for years, he's not about to start apologizing now. If anything, he was probably sitting back, sipping an espresso, watching the chaos unfold with the satisfaction of a man who just ruined Trump's entire week with a single speech.
Donald Trump right now, I don't even know what I'd probably just be tweeting nonsensical shit to distract from the fact that she doesn't faintly resemble the caricature that's been painted. By the way, that is what he was doing.
Melania, on the other hand, had some thinking to do. She's perfected the art of standing by Trump's side just enough to keep up appearances, but even she has to wonder, asterisk, is this really worth it? Her anger over De Niro's comments raises a bigger question. What exactly did she expect? The world has been roasting Trump since the day he descended that golden escalator like a low-budget movie villain. He's given comedians, late-night hosts, and social media more material than anyone in history. And De Niro? He's been on a decade-long mission to verbally suplex Trump into oblivion. Maybe this is the moment Melania realizes she's been drafted into this never-ending circus. Maybe she's tired of standing silently in the background while her marriage becomes the biggest joke since Trump University. Or maybe, asterisk, just maybe asterisk, she's already got one foot out the door. Because if this set her off, imagine what's coming next.